Crysis 3 is the tale of a cyborg slash genetically altered alien super soldier named Prophet. As he kills a bunch of people and aliens to save the world from an invasion he sorta kinda causes to occur. You use rocket launchers, microwave guns, laser mortars, VTOLs, and the world's worst buggy to inflict your wrath upon the clumps of pixels and code we call our enemies. Before we actually enjoy the story of this rated M for murder game, we get asked if we want to learn to play first or jump straight in. If you've seen some of my first few videos, first off, I'm so sorry, but also you know that I'm a big fan of good tutorials. It doesn't really matter how well they're integrated into the story per se, just that they accurately explain mechanics you are expected to use in the game and how you're supposed to integrate them. My favorite tutorials are the kind that are just their own separate little game mode that allows the player to choose to engage with them or not. That way, on replays of the game, there's no long drawn out slogs you have to sludge through. For example, I've been replaying Persona 5 and the tutorials are thorough and blend pretty seamlessly, and for a first time player that's great, but for repeat playthroughs, it becomes a 10-hour obstacle you have to conquer before an experienced player starts having fun again. Crysis 3 intelligently sidesteps this by just putting the tutorial in its own little game mode. Don't want to play it? Great, just skip it. If you do play it, what you'll find is a super succinct and matter-of-fact tutorial that gives you all the relevant info you need and how to appropriately use it. Then, moves out of the way and lets you get started on the actual game. Struggling with any particular mechanic? No problem, practice to your heart's content. Good, clean, and simple. Love it. Our first cutscene introduces us to our main character, Prophet, drifting in space on the brink of death, watching helplessly as an alien warship is making its way to Earth. Prophet tells us it's the duty of a soldier to make sacrifices in order to protect and serve, a theme the game will play with throughout the runtime. He tells us he's already sacrificed his pre-soldier existence of Lawrence Barnes. He's adopted this persona of Prophet, and as luck would have it, he's been having visions of the end of the world. While saying he adopted the persona of Prophet isn't exactly true, Prophet, as we know him in Crysis 3, is the blend of two dudes, Lawrence and another super soldier, Alcatraz. Prophet is the mixture of these two soldiers, although for the most part Lawrence Barnes is the mind and Alcatraz is the body. You don't really need to know this to enjoy the game, but it's worth mentioning as some of the later moments bring up how Prophet is a sort of Theseus' ship type of character. Someone who has been so changed and altered that it's unclear if this is even the same person from Crysis 1. Moving on, our next cutscene shows a sneaky little group of guys infiltrating what could be like a cargo ship or some sort of floating platform, as the dense rain pours and the shadows cover their violent mission. They come upon us, captured in a coffin-like tech rectangle designed to specifically house people using nanosuits. Setting another tech cube on it and watching some red colors become green is all it takes to free us, but like using Narcan on an ODing bum, we come out swinging. Quickly, a character named Psycho diffuses the situation by saying,
Whoa, easy! Friendlies! You remember friendlies?
Which honestly is the perfect set of words to have chosen to calm us down. Prophet asks Psycho what happened to his suit, which sets up the best yet worst thing about Crysis 3, which is that it assumes you already have all the information. Great for someone who has played the series all the way through, not so great for a newbie. I played Crysis 2 all the way through and loved every minute of it, but even I still have quite a hard time keeping up with what is happening in Crysis 3. It's nice the game treats you like an adult, much like with the tutorial, but it would have been nice to have maybe just a hair bit more expositional dialogue to explain some of the deeper knowledge needed to understand everything. Small gripe, sure, but it kind of frustrates newbies, especially near the beginning of the game. So back to Psycho. Over the course of the game, we're going to spend a lot of time with this cool, calm, collected gentleman.
Yeah, I'll try you all on! Yeah, come on! Yeah, come on!
In the games prior, Psycho and Prophet were a part of a Spec Ops nanosuit unit called Raptor Team. They discovered the alien threat together, and Psycho even got his own spin-off game called Warhead. Yet here he stands before us with no nanosuit. Psycho explains to us that he's been skinned. The suit tore from his body in a painful procedure. In fact, he explains that all of the nanosuit soldiers have been stripped of their suit, and that Prophet is the only one left with his suit still intact. Before we get an explanation as to why we still have ours, Psycho tells us who the big baddies of this game are. CEL. Check out this acronym. CEL stands for Crynet Enforcement and Local Logistics. Yeah, you like that, huh? These are our generic face-covered bullet receivers for Crysis 3. They started in Crysis 2 as goons sent to chase us for our nanosuit, but in 3, they evolved into a global force. Their main shtick is that they now control the power grid after finding a source of infinite energy. Even though they get the power for free, they still extort their customer base, which is presumably most of the world, and those that can't pay are enslaved into a work-away-your-debt program. So yeah, I kinda get the implications that most of the CEL goons you kill are most likely unwilling participants who are just trying to get their energy needs met. It kinda feels icky that most of our enemies in Crysis 3 are just drafted into a fight that's not theirs, and they're forced to act in self-defense. The game never explores this either, when it could have been a dope talking point that lines up with the themes of the game. Some of the major themes of Crysis 3 is pondering what exactly is a human, along with the whole soldier sacrifice and Theseus ship theme. So I think exploring the concept of modern day slavery and free will would have been a great addition to these themes, especially Prophet, who is essentially a cyborg executing slaves en masse for enjoyment of the player. Someone who doesn't even know if he's truly human anymore, stripping others of their life would have made for a great internal conflict, and could have even pulled its own version of Spec Ops The Line type of twists. Moving back to the game, the source of CEL's infinite power is located in New York, and guess where we just so happen to be stored at? So Psycho establishes our first mission, to infiltrate New York City and destroy this source of infinite power, thereby freeing humanity from the enslavement of CEL. I know we just went on a big rant about free will and humanity and all that stupid stuff, but doesn't it sound bonkers to wake up from a long sleep, start killing corporate enslaved people just to destroy the world's power grid? Like, doesn't this sound like straight up terrorism? Like, I'm sure that there are doctors operating on people, citizens reliant on heating and cooling, people who need special equipment to survive, and we're just gonna cut the cord on all their power? Surely there are many alternatives to free humanity and still keep the power grid up. And I'll mention it again, why was a well-defined threat known for single-handedly bringing down armies stored right next to the leverage you use to control the world? Yes, I know the skinning labs were in New York, but like, move them. You have infinite money. Encase Prophet in a large block of steel and sink him to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Okay, we're many minutes into this and we've barely moved past the first mission. I'm just having a lot of fun writing this video, and if you're enjoying it, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. So now we have the basic setup. Free the world from CEL slavery by destroying their power grid. Boom, let's do it. This first level is excellent. The dark night swallowing everything you don't need to see, the harsh spotlights and bright technology contrast heavily with the pitch black. Further clouding our vision is an almost blinding torrential rainstorm. And I mean blinding literally. It can be genuinely difficult to see what's happening in some of these beginning firefights, but honestly, I kind of prefer it. It makes the first person perspective feel genuine, seeing the rain hit our visor. The Crysis series has a bit of a reputation of being a graphical heavy hitter, and I think they do a good job in this game too. I play on a laptop with a 3060 and an i5, and aside from my fans sounding like jet engines, my computer didn't have any problem running this game. It's easy to forget that this game came out in 2013, even though I'm playing on a slightly more polished version with the remaster. So needless to say, I expect this game to look good, but I didn't expect it to sound so good either. Your footsteps are weighty, the suit announcing things to you such as and the music all create a really nice soundscape. The one gripe I have with the sound is that a few of the guns sound like sticking a piece of paper into fan blades. I mean that they don't sound really good. During these first few firefights, the game begins to show off its multiple playstyles. You're heavily encouraged to use stealth for the first encounter, but if you're anything like me, you'll get noticed immediately and have to go guns blazing. The second encounter, Psycho's dialogue will change depending on if you are successful with stealth. But either way, he gives you one of the best bows in all of gaming. I'll let Psycho explain the Predator bow.
You like it? No. Well, that's because you haven't heard the good part. Carbon lasers map that bow to your nanosuit. It has enough kinetic energy to stop a rhino dead. With interchangeable heads, you can drop an explosive charge on any target. And best of all, you stay cloaked. You like it now? I'm coming around.
It's got modes that let you blow stuff up, electrocute enemies, or your standard shot. And if you crank the draw distance, you can even one-shot some bigger enemies we'll discuss later. It's honestly going to be your main weapon for stealth runs, as it's the only weapon that can keep you reliably cloaked. To keep stealth players balanced, the ammo for the bow, which some would call arrows, is scarce. You only have a limited number spread throughout the map, but since you can reuse normal arrows, you'll never truly be out of arrows if you pay attention to what you're firing and where the ammo drops are. Moving on to the next mission, because oh my god, I keep getting sidetracked, is our grand introduction to New York City, and lord, look at this. Man, the vibrant greens, the tasteful god rays, the wind physics on the grass, even though we're inside a bubble that separates us from the outside environment. I personally love this moment where Psycho and Prophet are coming up with a plan to get around this sentry tower that launches missiles, and we watch from so far away as they exit the launcher and fly to their targets. I don't know what it is, but the way it looks watching it work on a beautiful morning with these helicopters flying around just feels right for a sandbox style shooter. That's one thing from this moment forward, that every environment and area we visit, just know that I'm gushing about the visuals. That way I don't have to stop over and over being like, whoa, so pretty, even though I'm probably still gonna do it. Still on the same scene, Psycho and Prophet have a calm, rational discussion about their newfound differences in survivability. And it's really nice for what on the surface appears to be a casual shooter to delve into these emotional sequences. Prophet comes up with a plan that Psycho could have done if he was still in his nanosuit, but Psycho makes it a point to Prophet that he's not a super soldier anymore. He's been skinned. The two characters are juxtaposed by Psycho saying that he has returned to being human. Prophet says how much he wants to return to being human, and it implied since Prophet is two people merged into one, and since he's still integrated into his suit, that maybe he isn't as much of a human as he once thought. The boys share a moment of silence, and it's back to work. I'm gonna cut off any people saying my stealth gameplay is bad. I've never really been good at stealth games, even though my favorite game is Dishonored 2, and this moment with the tower where you have to hide from its lasers and missiles really brings that to the surface. I don't know what it is about Crysis' stealth that never clicked with me. I had more fun running and gunning, so for the most part that's how I played the game. But some moments do make you feel like a hunter, wading through tall grass or murky water, invisible and bow in hand. There's a mission later I'll mention that really made this feeling prominent. Just as this moment made us familiar with the invisibility, or tried to anyways, the next part gets us familiar with the armor mode. We actually get to be on the receiving end of being hunted as the ceph, not cell, start stalking us through the grass and pouncing on us, forcing us to activate our armor and balance our energy as we defend against an assault from an enemy we struggle to see. So, ceph, what are they? They're aliens, and they are the other primary threat in Crysis 3. There you go. Long story short, the ceph come from a galaxy far, far away in search of planets to colonize, and Earth is next on their list. The first two games have us fending off the early phases of this invasion, primarily the research and experimenting phase where the ceph test the practicality of terraforming a planet. If they like it, then they grow an alpha-ceph who acts as a central hive mind of sorts, and the alpha-ceph's job is to gather enough energy to open a wormhole back to their dimension and let an actual invasion force through. So the game doesn't outright tell you this part, but it's implied that between the second and third game, the ceph went to the phase where an alpha-ceph emerged. Prophet was on the hunt to kill this alpha-ceph when he was ambushed by Cell, and then our game began. So this mission where we are being hunted is strange because these ceph that are stalking us seem to act as if there isn't a hive mind, or that there isn't an alpha-ceph. Well, due to us destroying that sentry tower we mentioned earlier, these mindless ceph are able to emerge in the open and attack Cell, which ends in this amazing set piece of us barreling down a tunnel on top of a train full of explosives. I was actually so enthralled I forgot to shoot at anything, but no matter, I was having fun. And so is Psycho, which shows that even though he's been skinned, he can still live up to his name.
Well, I don't know about you, but I call that fucking flawless.
Next, we meet up with Psycho's resistance. Importantly, Claire and Rash. Claire's the leader, and Rash is just kinda there for some reason. Prophet gets wigged out by Rash because his suit can't get any accurate readings on him. Rash hints that since he designed the nanosuits, he made them not able to get a read on him. Again, why is the designer of the nanosuit helping the resistance and not chilling with Cell in a life of luxury? Remember all this for later. The crux of this scene, however, is to establish that Cell has their infinite power generator close by, and it's called System X. And yes, that is a stupid name. However, there's a redundant power system powering all the defenses to System X, in the form of a hydroelectric dam. Here, any leashes that the player may have had are removed, and you pick your playstyle as you see fit. There's plenty of places to hide if you're stealthy, as well as many hidden places to crawl through, and some decent vantage points for sniping with the bow. If you're a guns blazing type of dude or dudette like me, then there's plenty of cover and a little bit of challenge in the form of some well-placed snipers. However, destroying the dam is a little strange because the game has you go turn off the power generators inside of the dam, and then just has you blow the dam up anyways. Like, why did we have to turn the generators off if we were just gonna blow it up? I know the game explains this a bit, but it's still a strange story design decision from the developers when we could have just blown it up and still got this baller action scene. And if they wanted to pad the runtime out, instead of the generator nonsense, just find something for us to deal with between the dam and getting to System X. Regardless, we finally make it to System X and turn it off. It wasn't really that hard, just slaughter a facility full of forced conscripts and then press a button. You're not gonna believe what happens next. This infinite energy source that Cell was using was actually the alpha-ceph that they somehow managed to contain. It's glossed over and never really mentioned how they were able to do this. The most powerful being on the face of the earth, and they just had it unconscious in containment, and we just shut down its prison, waking it up and pissing it off, causing it to escape and bring the Ceph hive mind back online. So not only are we committing a weird form of terrorism, but we also unleash an evil alien. Again, I just feel like we missed a step somewhere. Claire used to be a scientist, so you'd think she'd at least want to know what System X was before they destroyed it. If anyone just calmed down for a minute to come up with a couple more plans to maybe, I don't know, take over System X instead of destroy it, the outcome could have been a lot more beneficial. Okay, so now the alpha-ceph is free, and the Ceph hive mind is back up and running, meaning all the big boy Ceph are back to full capability. If that wasn't bad enough, the alpha-ceph has began the process to create a wormhole for the Ceph invasion force to enter orbit and begin terraforming Earth. More or less, this is now the setup for the rest of the game. Kill the alpha-ceph, stop the wormhole. So, where do we start? After hitting like and subscribe, Prophet decides that in order for him to become more of a threat to the Ceph, he wants his nanosuit to allow more of the Ceph hive mind to enter his thoughts by removing emotion blockers that the suit has installed in it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't understand fully the point of this move. Prophet is easily able to clear hordes of Ceph on his own. The Ceph die to bullets, which we have plenty of. We know where the alpha-ceph is based on where the wormhole starts, and we are able to integrate with the Ceph weaponry already, as seen in a previous mission. So, what's the point of letting the Ceph in your head? I understand that Prophet's suit has some Ceph technology integrated in it, and the idea is if we can allow the technology to be uninhibited by the suit, then Prophet can become even stronger. But, nothing changes when we do this. Like, gameplay-wise, the only thing we can do is we get very brief moments of invincibility when interacting with Ceph batteries. But that's about it. We'll bring it up later because there's a brief plot point regarding the whole Ceph integration into your suit, but between here and there is a couple of things I want to talk about. The first is the mission where you infiltrate the skinning labs to actually do the whole Ceph thingy with your suit. This mission is one of the coolest missions in the game, dude. Lots of verticality, stalking hostiles through the murky water, invisible and silent. This moment where you can turn a Ceph pinger on your side and watch one of the hardest enemies work for you is super cool. This mission really makes you feel like a Spec Ops commando or a ninja or something. If you're a stealth player, then this mission is for you, dude. There's two really strong story beats, one at the beginning and one at the end. The one at the beginning in this awesome first-person stalking cutscene tells us of Ceph's Hail Mary in case the alpha-ceph ever breaks free. That plan is called Red Star Rising. Long story short, Cell has an orbital laser that will blow up the alpha-ceph, leaving New York as collateral damage. Basically, blow this small chunk of the Earth up in order to save us from extinction, which, honestly, isn't a bad plan. If that was all it was going to do, then great, I'll take that trade. Unfortunately, that's not all. Prophet explains that the alpha-ceph can manipulate energy, which is how it can open the wormhole. If it receives a strike from this orbital laser, it can multiply the orbital strike enough to... well, I'll just let Prophet explain it.
They feed all that power back into the alpha-ceph, and it'll punch one hell of a hole in the Earth. There'll be no Earth left.
So yeah, add total orbital annihilation to the mix, and we got ourselves a game with some serious stakes. I don't know where to mention this in the video, so I'm just going to throw this out there now. Crysis 3 has a subpar story in my opinion, but oh my god, I love how much it moves. Things happen in this game. Like, the plot is so dynamic and ever shifting that it makes up for some of the sillier plot moments. I hate games or movies or shows where a whole lot of nothing happens. An example people often bring up to illustrate this is Mass Effect 2. Aside from the intro to that game and a DLC, nothing really moves forward with the Reaper plot. Like, it's all relatively filler when you zoom out of the immediate character subplots. Crysis 3 is the exact opposite. We are constantly sliding down this hill of plot points that it's almost confusing at times what is happening, while rarely stopping to smell the roses. This isn't a negative, in fact I almost prefer that, but yeah, things get destroyed, people die, the environment is constantly shifting around us as the day is progressing. You can play this game an hour at a time and each session will have wildly different things going on. Anyways, like I said, I didn't really know where to put that in, so there you go. The last thing in this mission is when we reach the skinning labs. Psycho plays Brain Surgeon and unlocks our inhibitors, and we are Super Saiyan Prophet now. Cool beans. The thing I really want to mention is when Psycho starts searching the computer for who skinned him. And guess what? It was Claire, his girlfriend, and the leader of the Resistance. Honestly, this moment of watching Psycho come to the realization that the only person he truly cares about is the reason he lost his nanosuit is heartbreaking. Watching him blame her and accuse her of only loving him because she feels guilty for what she's done made me feel sad for the soldier whose understanding of his relationship is crumbling around him. Prophet tries to calm him down, explaining she was enslaved and she had no choice. But then Psycho fires back by challenging what being enslaved truly means. He obviously doesn't say it like that, but he brings up Prophet's willingness to also say he's just following orders. You can read between the lines of the scene and tell Psycho is challenging our free will. How much agency do people have to change their own fate and destiny? Psycho seems to imply that both Claire and Prophet have used the whole just following orders to not take responsibility for their actions. It's a pretty interesting cutscene, especially the palpably awkward silence as Psycho picks up his rifle and leaves the room, us just staring at him. A tarnished light of hope fading as he makes his exit. Anyways, check out this buggy I got glitched to float inside of a fire. The first plan to get rid of Red Star Rising is to become the new leader of the Ceph hive mind and force them to retreat, thus ending the need for Cell to use the laser. I don't think it would have worked anyways. Cell doesn't seem to be the type of group to not use a giant laser when given the chance. But we get a scene letting us look at the Ceph in a calm state for a few seconds, and that's pretty cool. Since we're only half Ceph, the alpha-ceph easily pushes us out of the hive mind, and we get another mission where stealth isn't an option briefly, although we are pseudo-invincible, so it's not a big deal. Our second plan is to invade the control room of the Red Star Rising program. The mission to invade the control room to shut down the Red Star Rising laser is intense, even though it makes me wonder again, Why did they put this in New York, right next to the super soldier and literal alien pseudo-deity the laser is meant to kill? I like watching the Ceph and Cell fight, and this level is large and open, requiring a couple buggies to navigate the whole place expediently. They even tried to give one of them some rockets, but you fire it like 6 times and you're out of ammo, even though there's about 1,000 targets to shoot at. I'm sure there's some groundbreaking, earth-shattering moral and lesson to learn, but I'm too much of a doofus to care. Yeah, kidding of course. And I told myself I wasn't going to gush anymore about the graphics, but man, I cannot help myself. The Liberty Dome breaking apart, the tracer shots flying through the air, the smoke of the chaos permeating the air is such a feast for the eyes. Psycho realizes he still has a world to save, and joins us again here for the end of this invasion as we get to the top of the control center. We stop the laser just in time for it to let out a tiny fraction of its output. Not nearly enough for the alpha-ceph to destroy the Earth with, but now that the laser is out of commission, it's time for the alpha-ceph to reveal its great ruse. See, for no explainable reason, the alpha-ceph was able to control Rash through this whole game, and he influenced us to destroy the laser so the alpha-ceph could come out of hiding. It's kinda goofy, but replays of this game and listening to Rash's dialogue before the reveal is actually fun, knowing it's the alpha-ceph talking to us, not him. This game had way more potential for jaw-dropping story, and it shows in these brief moments. I wish they had more time and money to flesh out a more robust storyline, but so far it's not bad if you don't overanalyze it like I am. Psycho and Claire have a moment as Claire draws her last breath. Psycho has shed his identity to become Michael Sykes, further juxtaposing Prophet and Michael, much how Prophet is no longer Lawrence Barnes. Michael tells Prophet how useless he feels, how he couldn't protect the one he loves, saying he's just a human, no longer a super soldier. Prophet explains that being a human is truly what matters, not the nanosuit he once wore. It's very interesting how Prophet is actively becoming a new species as the game progresses, yet is preaching to Michael about being a human. I also find this very interesting that Prophet felt the need to throw Michael around to get his point across. Just a well done cutscene with no wasted sentences. So Prophet the alien and Michael the human reaffirm their desire to stop the alien invasion and get ready to make one last push to destroy the wormhole. This next mission to go destroy the wormhole is, well, I'm just gonna say it, it's a playground. You have every single mechanic and weapon available to you here, the largest map in the game to explore, objectives you can complete at your own pace and in your own order, side objectives that give you genuinely useful rewards, and the Statue of Liberty is here too. Well, sort of. Unfortunately, there's nothing for me to say about this mission that I haven't said about the other parts of the game, so I'm not going to fangirl too much. In brief, it's beautiful, you can play in stealth or guns blazing, there's plenty of vehicles, and the enemies are placed intelligently to create different problems for different spots on the map. The point of this mission is to destroy some AA cannons so we can fly a VTOL to the beam generator and destroy it. We still end up getting shot down anyways, which defeats the point of the mission, but oh well. And the boss fight at the end of this mission is strange. It's not hard, you just gotta shoot it a bunch. But its attacks aren't well telegraphed and everything happens so fast, it's hard to tell what's going on. However, it was a welcome addition to that awesome level. The buildings around us collapse, and we find ourselves in the heart of the wormhole machine. Some people hate this level, and I see why. It feels like they were in the middle of crafting this one when they ran out of time. There's nothing interesting going on, even though it was cool to look at, and coming off of the high of the previous mission, it's a huge letdown, as the gameplay quality took a nosedive. The only way to really play it is guns a-blazing, and there's not a lot of places to hide or sneak, even though I definitely appreciated the endless amount of Ceph weaponry. Again, it just feels like they just built the foundation of a level, and were beginning to start making it interesting when they ran out of time to do so. However, while I can kind of brush off the lackluster last level, I can't really forgive the final confrontation with the alpha-ceph. It's cluttered, hard to tell what is happening most of the time as the alpha-ceph's attacks take up the whole screen and you're too busy looking at the ground for weapons and ammo. This mission also makes the cardinal sin of abandoning the ability to use stealth, and the fight happens too fast to make any good use of the bow. These two things were hyped up, that Prophet is a hunter of aliens, and it would have been great to have that payoff in a substantial way there at the end. Instead, it's just a mess, and it devolves into just picking up random guns on the ground, emptying the ammo of it, and tossing it for another one over and over. As I said previously, they probably began to run out of time and decided that this fight was good enough, as at least it was fully functional. We seem to have failed to stop the wormhole too, launching us into orbit as we watched the first Ceph warship exit the wormhole. In a standard Deus Ex Machina style intervention, the orbital laser floats by us and is still operable, so in this super memorable scene, we shoot the convenient weak spot with the laser and blow up the warship, which causes the wormhole to destabilize and the world is saved. I'm oversimplifying here for brevity's sake, but this is truly a grand and awe-inspiring final scene to a fast-paced plot and a thrilling shooter. There's a final cutscene that I personally feel is open to interpretations. It shows Prophet on a beach very similar to the island from the first game where the Ceph are discovered. We see the nanosuit in the shape of Lawrence Barnes monologuing about how you can only rely on yourself. My personal interpretation is that this is no longer Lawrence Barnes or Alcatraz in any way, shape, or form. This is now the nanosuit completely on its own, a brand new life form. And picking the island from the first game as the final location isn't an accident, as I think the devs were hinting that just as new life was discovered in the first game, new life has been created at the end of the third one. Full circle, kind of. The ending monologue almost seems like the suit trying to convince itself it might still be human, or even sarcastically calling itself human, emphasized by it immediately becoming invisible with the robot voice coming back all of a sudden. I could be wrong, but it's a good open-ended scene that puts a bow on the whole experience. Long story short, Crysis 3 is extremely fast-paced, action-packed, with fun stealth and straight-up violence mechanics. It's good for people with small windows of playtime, and definitely warrants a second playthrough if you dedicate each one to certain playstyles. I beat it in under 6 hours. Usually that's a huge negative for me, but this game is so focused in what it wants to be, and there's only a few dull moments, and I got it on Steam for a killer deal, so no harm no foul to me personally. If the link concerns you, then just wishlist it and wait for a sale. Otherwise, grab it and you're in for a great time. If you're looking for a deep introspection on the human condition, this ain't it. Although it could have been with more time and money. But the themes it plays with are obvious, and there's very few wasted lines of dialogue. Prophet and Psycho are great characters, and the rest of the cast perform their roles well. What did you think of this game? Did you play it way back in 2013, or have you not played it yet at all? Leave your comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Rope Burned out.